Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to show you an expedited cold start in the F-15 Strike Eagle. I would recommend you use my method on a somewhat casual multiplayer server. I think it is a good balance between speed and ensuring that all the necessary systems are up and running. Now, is it by the book? Absolutely not. But I think if you are operating this aircraft for the first time, in a somewhat casual environment, it gets the job done quite well. Now, before we actually do the startup, let's ensure that we are fully armed and fully fueled. I always recommend you rearm and refuel before the startup. Later on, especially during the alignment, I highly advise against rearming and refueling. Now, while the ground crew is working on that, let's go to the back seat. Now on the left hand side we are going to put the microphone in the on position, and on the right side behind the stick we are going to put the oxygen in the on position, so one click forward. Now again, for the pilot, microphone in the on position, the conformal fuel tanks. During the startup we are going to put them in stop transfer. Inlet rams left and right in the auto position. Yaw, roll and pitch in the on position. Moving to the right side, again oxygen in the on position. Air conditioning, reasonably important because otherwise you will get a warning telling you that your displays are not receiving enough cold air. You put the air conditioning in the auto position. Now, the engine panel, essentially every switch forward but the external power one, because of course we're not starting with external power. Once we've done that, we can left click the jet fuel starter. Now we have a green light, the jet fuel starter is ready. This allows us to move to the throttle quadrant and pull the right throttle finger lift. This essentially engages the starter with the right engine. And over here in the engine display we will soon see something happening. There we go. Now we will wait for 26% RPM. And there we go. This allows us now to move the right engine out of the detent into the idle position. There we go. Now we need to wait a little bit for the engine to spool up. Once the engine has spooled up, the starter will disengage and will become available for us to use on the left engine startup. Alright, very good. Starter is ready again. So, same thing on the left engine. Pull the finger lift. While we wait for the left engine to start, my first deviation from the official checklist, I am already turning on my displays. Let's also use the time and uncage our backup ADI. Our altimeter is set. Let's use the time and set our bingo fuel. And let's engage the parking brake. Very good. Now, again, 26% RPM on the left engine. This allows us to put the left throttle out of the detent into the idle position. Now, while we wait for the left engine to spool up, let's go to the back seat. And over here, if we are flying a one-man show on a somewhat casual multiplayer server, really, we don't need to do much back here. I'm going to leave all these displays in the off position, but quite important, especially for a combat mission. Let's turn on the RWR and the EWWS. Now over here on the CMD, our counter measurements, let's put them to manual only. Now another deviation from the checklist, and probably something you wouldn't do in a real aircraft, let's already put the laser into the arm and the targeting flare in the on position. Of course, you don't need to do this if you are not carrying a targeting pod. Now, left engine is up and running. Very good. Let's go ahead and make sure that our conformal fuel tanks are back to normal. Now, this is a good time for you to set your external and internal lightings as desired. Okay. Now, on our sensors panel, I'm going to essentially put everything in the on position. Again, a slight deviation from the official manual. And this guy over here in the normal position. Now, the most important step, of course, the INS alignment. We're going to put it in the GC align. If we now look in the HUD, we see a GC null taxi. If we look in the upfront controller, we already find that our initial positions are punched into the aircraft. So as of now, we don't need to manually input them. We are just going to wait for the alignment to be done. This takes about 4 minutes. We can use these 4 minutes to get the aircraft up and running. So let's use takeoff trim by pushing the takeoff trim button till the green light and the voice appears. Now, also if you have air-to-ground armaments, this is a good time for you to load them into your aircraft. Oh, I misclicked. Let's go back again. Air-to-ground armaments, air-to-ground load. Now let's step through the menu till we find our GBU-87s. And if we look on the outside, we have 6 GBU-87s, 3 per side in the inboard forward, inboard center, and inboard aft positions. Again, on both sides. So let's go ahead, select the GBU-87 and click the corresponding conformal fuel tank. Now we are going to click TCFT and we are going to tell the jet where the weapons are stored, and of course they are inboard forward, inboard center, inboard aft. We click enter, we confirm again with enter, and there we go. Now our weapons are loaded into the aircraft. Very good. Now, usually you would have long closed canopy, but right now we are still blocked by the wheel chocks. I use this in order to ensure that my aircraft is absolutely not moving and I am not messing up my alignment. Technically speaking, once you have hydraulic pressure, in order for you to engage the parking brake, you would be able to tell the ground crew to remove the wheel chocks, and then you would be able to close the canopy. But as of now, this method does not work too well because the alignment keeps getting messed up. Now, while the alignment is still going, I think I already mentioned it, but quite often you forget the air conditioning. I'm just going to put the air conditioning in the off position, and I'm going to show you this message over here. If you see this message, this essentially means that your displays are not getting enough cold air, which you can fix with turning the air conditioning on. Alright, very good. Now the alignment is already done, or almost done. Okay, alignment is done. Let's put the INS in the nav position. Let's turn on our radios. Let's set our displays up for takeoff. This, of course, is your personal preference. Now, for the final time, we are going to make a check. Okay, looking good. Now we can communicate with the ground crew and finally close the canopy.
Chief, remove the wheel chocks. Copy.
Once he acknowledged, we can close the canopy. If you are unable to communicate with the ground crew in order for you to remove the wheel chocks, it is probably because your canopy is closed. Now, the jet is ready for taxi. Usually you would do this before takeoff, but again, a little bit an expedited tutorial. So I'm just going to arm my seat right now. Now with the seat armed, I think we are up and running and we can take off. Now, release the parking brake and off we go. I hope you enjoyed this little expedited guide. I hope it adds value to all the other awesome guides that are already out there. Thank you for watching. See you later.